Hi, Tim Goggin for Recession Rebirth, in the first of a regular series about local businesses that are doing incredible marketing in this very tough time. The first business we're going to profile is called The Linkery. They're here in North Park, and for years they have been doing what I think is incredible, passionate marketing. We're going to talk to the owner, Jay Porter, who also founded the restaurant, about how his passion led him to create this. He's going to talk about the passion that comes across in the newsletter, in their Facebook presence, about sausage, about food. Everything is going to be covered, and I think you're going to love it.
There wasn't a lot of amenities for people in the neighborhood.
Sure.
And particularly places for like adults to go enjoy a high quality meal in the company of friends, family.
Sure.
You know, I always said it was the kind of, there wasn't really so many places that you'd want to take your in-laws, where you would have a good time and a good meal. They'd have a good time and a good meal. You could have some good wine and beer, and have a really good conversation.
Sure.
Which seems like this really essential facility that a good neighborhood needs.
I agree.
This particular strip that I live on here, where the two-line old trolley used to run by, was really kind of bombed out and it wasn't meeting its potential. And it obviously had the potential to make these San Diego neighborhoods super vibrant, be like a Chicago neighborhoods or Sydney, Australia neighborhoods. I mean, we were overwhelmed the first few months we were open with people just kind of clawing in, like it's like zombie clawing in the door, and we were doing a terrible job because we weren't really prepared for it and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. And we did. I mean, that is, there was such a demand. The marketing was spot on, the execution was not. And so about 6 months later, we had a really small group of regulars, and that was about it. And from there, we took stock. Over the course of opening the restaurant, we had learned about the food chain, and we were pretty aghast at where food came from, and how we couldn't get the high quality, the world-class high quality ingredients we just expected, because I was blithely ignorant. No restaurant was obtaining much of it. There were a couple that were making some progress in that way. When we discovered we weren't good at the thing we thought we were going to be good at, and we had to refocus our efforts, that became something, we knew we were passionate about it, and that became something that we were able to make a lot of progress with. And that became the core, essence of our business. We're going to help rebuild a quality food chain in San Diego, and the immediate beneficiaries of that will be our North Park neighbors. But it ended up, the idea of the Linkery was always, the name was chosen, the idea that we're going to connect farmers and diners.
And also, I mentioned the sausage.
And the sausage, it was kind of meant as a pun a little bit. And when you connect farmers and diners, both farmers and diners benefit.
and so that passion obviously drives everything. Like, I see it in the blog, I see it in the Facebook page you guys have.
I think historically, since we've opened, a fair amount of people who come to work here have explored other options that were maybe more lucrative, but found something missing in the whole
sort of the corporate
life. Yeah. Most people would rather go to a job where they get to bring their full human essence to their work.
I agree.
Contribute, do great stuff. And most jobs are set up to not let that happen.
This was many years ago, but I showed my dad one of your newsletters, and I've been a subscriber for, I don't know, however long.
Right.
And even when I can't come in, I'm like, damn it, I want to try that, my dad even remembers this one newsletter from 2000, whatever, right? 2005 or something. And it was about how you got a whole pig from North Carolina.
Right.
And, this is, I think so, and I tell me if you disagree, but I think so many times small businesses you're so clued into just running your business, you forget that everybody doesn't know what you know.
That was a decision that came out after we had done our first 6 months and hadn't performed well, and we're trying to figure out what we could essentially do. It came down to a really simple proposition, which is do, amazing things. It starts with, okay, what can we do that nobody else is even thinking of doing, that our neighborhood would think is really cool, would really be excited about? Well, we can go find a rare breed of pig that hasn't changed in 500 years, that nobody west of the Rockies has ever served, and we can bring it. We know like that's just a matter of willpower.
That's a hell of a story, you know.
and it's not one I had to make up.
Sure,
The story itself is fascinating, right?
Of course.
And all we had to do was figure out how to get 100, 200 pounds of this pork and get it. Well, we actually brought it in ice chests on Southwest. Back in those days, Southwest let you bring on 3 bags for free. And they were 50 pounds.
That's how you did it?
Yeah. So we
awesome.
got these cube ice chests that fit in the Southwest, dimensions, allowed dimensions, and the price of a plane ticket. We went out and visited this really cool farm, brought back 3 ice chests. I think we established a really good relationship with. Our mailing list now is pushing 6,000 people. It's qualified, so they unsubscribe or they fall off. So it's a fairly good way to communicate to a sizable portion of the town. We send it out about once a week. I write it personally.
And that comes across, every time it's always very personal and.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not afraid to show my human face.
You guys have started to send photos of the different specials you have, and I remember seeing you had a avocado semifredo, and that brought me in. I was like, damn it, I'm going to try that. And
that was actually our chef's idea, and it was a really good idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, and he said, let's get the pictures of the new dishes on every day. One of the first things I learned when we opened a retail business was that the whole business is a constant negotiation between our community and us.
Sure.
And sometimes we lead and sometimes we let them lead.
Sure.
We prefer to lead. I would prefer, if we know something is great, I would prefer to get it out there and just keep telling people about it until they understand it's great. At the same time, there are times when we have to let our community, our market lead us and say, this is what they want, this is what they need. Every diner gets my business card with my name on it and my email address on it. And so I think there's a very open invitation to say, here's how to reach.
Sure.
Look back, when we introduced kangaroo to the menu in 2006, 2007.
I remember having it,
That was a case where, we did encounter resistance, but at the time it was one of the only grass-fed meats we could get. It was, we did good things with it, and the people who were willing to come with us got a really good experience.
What would your advice be to someone who was starting a business?
The biggest mistakes that we continue to make relate to cash flow. Not being prepared for the cash flow swings.
Okay.
We continue regularly find ourselves in precarious situations. Once a year, once every 2 years. It's really hard to generate in this economy. It's really hard to generate profit.
Okay.
And so, given those circumstances, cash flow becomes just everything. I mean, if I were doing this now in this environment, I started in 2004, so now we're 6 years later.
Sure.
If I were doing this now in this environment, I would look for ways to do it that required, the minimal fixed expenses.
Sure.
Businesses that have been started since then that I've seen that have been successful, that have the potential to be successful, it's too early to say for sure, tend to be based on models that have a lot lower fixed costs.
Okay. Sort of like a food truck
the food truck, the farmers market driven businesses. I mean, we've seen restaurants give up their physical locations and exist entirely in the farmers market. I think that's where a lot of potential exists for new businesses, is not being so tied to
a physical space.
A physical space, a heavy rent. I expect to see a lot more underground, non-permitted businesses. So one of the things I love about going to a place like Mexico City, which has such a vibrant economy, is you see such a huge scale, a huge breadth and scale of businesses, and the different ways that businesses can thrive, from very established, very architecturally tied, brick and mortar businesses to really, guys doing amazing architecture, design, photography, just kind of in a really free-form, renting a studio here, getting this gig, to some pretty compelling, one of the best restaurants I can think of, that I know of in the world, and it's run out of a driveway.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I love the restaurant. And
thank you, Tim. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Take care.